What's good? What's popping? What's cracking? It's your girl Irene, the motherfucking passion queen, back at you with another episode of the Queendomme, where we talk about life, love, sex, and everything in between, with a heavy focus on BDSM in the BIPOC community. What's up, y'all? Happy Tuesday! Happy Tuesday! Welcome back. We got a good one for y'all today. Ooh, I am so excited for this topic, not only because it's such an interesting topic, but because it's a topic that I know not a lot of people know enough about. But there may be some individuals out there who resonate with some of the information that's going to be given today. There's going to be some people who probably have been a little curious about some of these things. Um, and because, a lot of times, Black people, we tend to shy away from things where we don't see people who look like us doing it. I thought it was extremely important, especially since I know two amazing individuals who like to participate in this particular kink. Or I'm gonna have to get clarification. Is this considered a kink or a fetish? We're gonna get clarification on that. Um, but because I know sometimes if you don't see people who look like you doing certain things, sometimes you don't hop straight into trying to do it yourself. Um, what up, Mr. Smell Good? Always on time. We appreciate you, sir. So bringing first to the stage is my good sis. Y'all know her, y'all love her, y'all have seen her several times on this show. Near and dear to my heart, Samantha Odeale, aka Miss Kitty if you're nasty. I like to introduce her. um, so let me start off by giving a definition. So we're talking about pet play today, right? So I'm gonna read the definitions that I found, and you let me know. Just so the this particular definition that I found, I'm gonna be 100% honest. I don't know how I feel about the second half of it, and I don't know if that's a me thing or if the way they have it worded is just not proper.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it says pet play. It has a submissive who is treated as a loved and valued pet, as in a puppy or pony. The second portion of the definition says a submissive that is dehumanized by being reduced to the status of an animal.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if maybe it's the wording of that I'm sitting over here like I don't know how I
Yeah.
like that.
I feel
You
like
know?
a commercial kink does kind of trigger us with words a little bit, because it is true that you are not in human form, right? It is
Mm-hmm.
true. So you are void of human anything when you are taking on a pet persona, a pet energy. You do not use words. You do not do anything that you would typically do as a human. So I agree with that part. Um, for me, because black pet play is going to,
Mm-hmm.
for me, and any BDSM for me, from a black perspective, is going to be void of certain things that white kinksters would say and do. So for me, I use pet play as a form of healing. So
Mm-hmm.
when I hear, reduced to something, like anytime I hear
Right.
those kind of words as a BIPOC kinkster, I'm like, nope, I'm never reduced to anything in any kind of energy involving kink. I'm elevated. So, pet play is an altered state of consciousness. And that's how I describe it. You are not in this consciousness that we are in as we're talking like humans using words. We are in a altered state of consciousness, and we are, behaving as that altered state of consciousness. So I don't agree with like the reduce terminology, or, but I do understand dehumanizing, because you are void of human
I
behavior,
got
things that you would do as a human.
you. Gotcha. Okay. So now this next thing, it goes into a little bit more definition. Now it has two different things. So the first one is master pet and human. I guess it where you still have a human connection with this one. It says pet relationships often won't have a sexual side. They are purely for service and enjoyment in one type. In one type of pet relationship, the submissive is still seen as a human and simply treated like a pet. These are these are the most likely to have some sort of sexual aspect.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now the second one, it goes into a little bit more information. It says master pet animal. So in this type of pet relationship, the submissive takes on the persona of a particular animal. Common ones are dogs, cats, ponies, and cows. The submissive often must be silent or make the noise of the animal. Pony pets will be subject to pony play, in which they are harnessed and made to pull a cart in which the master sits. Pup or kitten pets um, will generally be walked, taught tricks, petted, given treats made to eat from pet bowls, and generally act like a house pet, even to the point of using a litter tray. Cow pets are true to name. They are milked using breast pumps. The submissive will be brought to lactation and eventually milked daily, weekly, or even monthly. Whilst these are the main animals, there are many, many others, all involving different activities and mannerisms. But the general idea is to become as animal like as possible, and this rarely involves sexual activity.
Mm-hmm. I do want to say though, for anyone that's new or curious about pet play, that kink is, and particularly pet play, is a curated experience. This is something that you are co-creating with somebody that you trust. So
Hmm.
when we talk about like certain ways in which pets are are owned and are treated, that can vary based on your dynamic, based on your owner, and based on the pet. So for instance, I'm going to bring in the healing part. I am a person that has healed breast cancer. So there are certain things that I will not do as a kitten. There are certain things I won't do. It, and that is just simply because kink is a curated experience. So when we go into pet play and we look up things online to kind of re-educate ourselves or educate ourselves, like we have to also keep in mind that your kink experience is curated by you and your owner. Like, and any owners out there, I think that in for anyone curious about being an owner, you really have to understand that this experience is a shared experience, meaning
Hmm.
being a good owner is also training you. Your job as an owner is to train your pet to do what it is that you both feel would make the relationship better. But you also have to be a responsible owner. So that means you actually train yourself. We all know that when we have animals, we're training the animal, but we're really in training ourselves to be able to take care of that animal. So
Right.
how you lead is important. So, when we talk about like the intricacies of pet play and, they get milked and they get this, some dynamics don't even include anything like that. I think the first step is the owner training themselves. When and that's a simple training. Like, we talk about collaring and then being walked. I actually love being walked and I love being collared. And it's an art, but it also teaches that owner how to walk me. Like if you're walking a dog and you're, you know, taking that dog and you're pulling it and the dog is so far away from you that you have to keep snatching it, that is not a proper way to lead anyone.
Right.
So I think, for this, there are things that you and your pet, if you're an owner, you and your pet decide you want to do, and things that you decide you don't want to do. But it is true. The basics of it is, finding certain rituals that align with your dynamic. Like certain rituals that align with your dynamic, whether it's every day in the morning, you're walking your pet every day at the same time, and consistency is key. But that's how you develop your ritual with your pet, is like, as a pet you develop your own rituals. Like I think the most beautiful thing about pet play is that you don't have to be owned. Like I can be a feral kitten and not have
Mm.
an owner, and that's a beautiful thing, that you don't have your, you being a pet is not defined by you having an owner.
Perfect. Okay. Oh, and just so if anybody, so just in case y'all don't know, the reason why when she was talking about walking her, and I did, and I got like a little giddy, is because I've had the pleasure of walking her twice.
Yeah, yeah. And you did a great job. You did a great job.
So it was so much fun. It was it, and let me tell y'all something. It's so interesting, especially because, like I said, I consider Samantha a sister. We are super close. We talk
Mhm.
um, outside of social media, outside of just like all of this. Like we really talk. Um, and so to be able to go into a space, one where she trusted me to do that, like off rip, it was like out of everybody, she was like, "Nah, we ain't gonna do this," and I
Mhm.
was like, "Cool, okay," you know. Um, Kate Simone, hey girl.
Hey.
It was very much like a, oh, okay, we doing okay, okay, cool, 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 cool. And I think we had like a quick little back and forth about, just what, what she needed from me
Mhm.
as far as, and keep that in mind, like that conversation is important when doing this. And I appreciate you saying that you don't have to be on, because typically for me at least, when I've heard about the dynamic, it's always pet owner. You
Mhm.
know what I mean?
Mhm.
So to be able to hear that it doesn't have to be on, because I know in other like identities. There we go.
Mhm.
Um, like for example, I'm a brat. I don't I don't necessarily technically
Mhm.
have a brat tamer at the moment. Um, yeah. Okay. I had to replay it in my head. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and that makes sense because you identify as you identify, period. So my biggest question is what got you to the point of being interested in pet play and then identifying as a kitty?
Mhm. Great question, because most people will want to know, like, how will I know what pet I would be if I was interested? And for me, it was so simple. Um, pe- People naturally will say that certain alter egos come out at certain times, and that's just in our regular lives. Like, we have work Samantha, and then we have play Samantha. And at the time where I was always in a playful mood, it was always very cat like, I was always like, you know I like to groom myself. I like to be by myself, which is why I made it my point to say that you are not defined in this community by the ownership. You are not. Now, ownership enhances your experience when it's healthy, but you have to actually know yourself in and out before you can even trust someone with the pleasure and honor and blessing of you. So,
Mhm.
you know, pet play differed from me. I got into kinks over 13 years ago, but pet play became interesting when I realized that collaring just wasn't enough. I was like, okay, I love this BDSM dynamic. I love this Dom sub dynamic where, like, I am, enjoying obeying, and I am I'm naturally submissive, and I love that for me. But it was something about the solitude and the feralness of
Mhm.
being in a pet energy. Like, I was able to behave unconventionally. And I know kink is unconventional in and of itself, but this was so different. So, I don't know, we're not on TikTok or anything, so we can be very, open. I,
Yep.
I was always into very kinky stuff. So people would be like, golden showers, for instance. I was like, oh, I love that. How can I take this a step further? Like, some people in that moment love to be peed on, and I'm people, so I was like, I find that to be, like, for me, someone is claiming me. Someone is actually marking me as their territory, their
Mhm.
property. And so I was like, in pet play, it made perfect sense why in my head I thought that this was absolutely normal. I was like, but I rationalized it better as a pet than I did in a BDSM dynamic where it was just dom sub. I rationalized it better as a pet because I'm fair,
Mhm.
and I was able to, I didn't have to use words, and oftentimes words sometimes shamed me. So
Mm.
pet play, without having to use words, I just behaved as that pet. I released myself of shame. And I think sometimes that's what it is. It's like the way that I moved my body when I wasn't comfortable with my body after cancer as a pet, I gave myself so much more grace because I am not in human form. That cancer was a human form cancer. I am in kitty form. So I'm
Mhm.
able to allow myself pampering. I wasn't good with touch when after breast cancer. I didn't want anyone to touch this body at all. But as a pet, I craved touch. In human form, I did not want it. But as a pet, I longed for it. Like I wanted to be petted. But then oftentimes left alone. So my behavior was justified as a pet over a human. Like I didn't want anyone to touch my scars in my human body. As a pet, I found comfort in them caressing my scars, and I think that's where the healing part and conscious part of kink comes in when we talk about conscious kink and why
Mhm.
we choose it. But I got into it because I knew that I needed more, and I wanted to remove words, and I wanted to get into my natural self, because we are naturally animalistic. We are just living this life in this human body and doing what it is society thinks is normal. And I just was able to be completely naked with a collar around my neck and tell someone what I need in advance when I'm not in kitty space, and them giving me that, like them pampering me. So it was just, I needed more from kink. I found that kink, in and of itself was wonderful, but a spiritual person I needed to evolve, and
Mhm.
I wanted to free myself from society norms, and that helped.
Okay. I love that. I love the fact that you make sure to connect the benefits that you receive from it, because I think a lot of times when people hear about BDSM, regardless of what aspect of it that they hear about, the first thing that they think of is just the sexual pleasure that could be, that could arise from it.
Mhm.
And a lot of times it's not necessarily that simple. It's not I do this because I enjoy it sexually. Like you said, it brought you healing after going through, cancer and getting to know your body at its stage that it is now, and being able to reconnect with your body and reconnect with yourself so that you could not only feel good in kitty form, but also feel good in human form.
I say exactly. You got it.
Uh,
You got it.
we be understanding. We be.
You got it. And I really strongly encourage people to, especially those of us that have been rooting our sexuality in shame, to really evolve your consciousness, and and
Mm-hmm.
and see how kink can be used to release your shame. And that can be all types of shame. Body shame, because a lot of times we are ostracized for our bigger bodies, our thicker
Mm-hmm.
bodies. Like, we I really strongly encourage people to lean into pet play, only because it frees you from society norms. And as an owner, there is no greater reward than having a pet at your feet, because that pet is going to love you unconditionally. This is why we get pets, period. Like, we have emotional support animals for this
Mm-hmm.
as humans. And so in pet play, conscious kinksters are now owning, pets, and those pets are healing to those owners because they are their emotional support pets. And that, I'm loving that for black folks. I'm loving that for us, because the same way that your dog offers you unconditional love no matter what is happening on the outside, as a kitten, when I am in kitten space and I'm kneeling or laying at the feet of my owner, I offer the same emotional support. I offer no judgments. I get out of that headspace of shame and judgment, and I am of service to them, and they are of service to me as an owner.
Okay, cool. So before I ask this next question, I want to point out something because I know some people out there that when they heard, well, let me say two things first. If you made it this far, please make sure you like, subscribe, share this out to your peoples. Tell a friend to tell a friend if you're watching the replay. Still share it out if you're watching it live. Appreciate it. Thank you. And please remember, y'all can ask questions in the comments, and we will be happy to answer them.
Yes.
Second, that the you spoke about golden showers a little bit ago. That was the first time I ever heard somebody express a golden shower as a form of owner, like claiming, like marking your territory. And at that, like it clicked. I don't know if it's for me, but it clicked. You know what I'm saying? Um, and so let me also bring up our other guest. Oh my God, I'm so happy. I love these ladies so much. Y'all don't understand. The beautiful, amazing Tayomi Moore.
Naomi! I
Hey
miss you.
y'all.
I miss you. I haven't seen you since Exotica Miami.
I know. I ain't gonna be at Exotica no more, but
We're
I'm gonna be where
still
I'm gonna be. I'm gonna because I owe you waist beads. I owe you beads.
you do,
I
you
have them.
do.
listen. Wherever
Okay.
Tayomi go, I'm going. Period. I'm
Period.
not. You don't have to even worry about
Period.
that. um. Yes. So as you all see, Tayomi also identifies as a kitten or a kitty. Which
Kitty,
one do you
kitty,
prefer?
same,
Okay.
basically.
All right. Awesome. So, the question I was about to ask: what does it look like for either both of you when you go into your pet persona? What does that look like for you? And how do you get there? Is there like is there a process to like how do I want to, is there a process of turning like your human brain off and going into your kitten brain? Yeah, I think that's how I want to ask that question.
Naomi, you go.
Um,
They've been hearing from me. You go ahead.
okay. So my eyes are gonna be diverting like up and down because my camera is here, but y'all are here.
No
Mhm.
problem.
So just Um, so it is a switch and it's a quick switch, because there are things that will like trigger kitten space for me.
Hmm.
So if I see something like fuzzy, if if I hear like bells, if I see cats, if I see like animal print, but it's really just a switch. Like once I put my ears on, I'm already in kitten mode. But I don't just like meow and purr and scratch and crawl and do all the kitten things unless I'm with my master. Otherwise, people don't get to play with this kitty, with Precious Kitty, because I have two kitten personas. I have Roxy, who I own. She's a wildcat. Her ears are not white, but Precious Kitty has an owner. Everything I have on, my master bought me because I'm a spoiled house cat. So,
Period.
so this is my actual collar. So a collar can be whatever you want it to be, but because I am a pampered princess, he buys me Swarovski crystal jewelry. So this is a Swarovski crystal necklace. I just got this bracelet for our 2-year anniversary. And I have to say, like finding an owner is not the easiest thing being a pet. Um, but I am blessed to have a wonderful owner. So yeah, it's literally just a switch and I'll go into full kitten mode with no words, just meowing and purring and things like that. But even if I'm not meowing and purring, whenever we decide that we're going to be playing or we're together and we're in a scene, which just starts from the moment he lands here and we get together, then I'm in Precious Kitty mode.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Okay.
And Tayomi did mention exactly what we said earlier is that you being a pet is not defined by having an owner because there are a lot of us who begin as you should 13 years ago when I got into kink, you know, I can't possibly allow anyone the access to my ashe or the access to me as a submissive or a pet unless I have submitted to me first. I
Right.
submitted to me first. I submitted to my healing first. I submitted to the worship of me first. Because otherwise, like Tayomi said, it is very difficult to find an owner, a responsible owner, because like we said earlier, they, when you train a pet, you really must train yourself first as an owner because you need to be a responsible owner. Like, has your pet eaten? Are they
Yes.
on schedule to eat? Is your pet emotional needs being taken care of? And that is the only reason why I'm a pet, is for my emotional needs. Battling cancer in a human body almost killed me. It
Mm.
almost killed me. So as a pet, the touch that I did not want in my human body because of the scars, because of the pain, I'm allowing now a responsible owner to touch me in my pet energy, my pet ashe. Now I can feel it. I can accept that I deserve it. I know that I'm worthy of it. And it took a lot in that human body because of the shame associated with losing my breast. But ain't no breasts. I'm not thinking about this physical body like that in kitten space. When I'm on all fours, I'm thinking about being adored and being
Yes.
loved, which makes me love myself even more. So it is true that to get into that space for me, it is a shift of consciousness. It's very, very easy. It's very, very quick. And like Tayomi said, getting prepped for it, putting your ears on, your tail on, sometimes getting completely naked, and that collaring. Like, I know that my owner is ready for me when they have collared me, because I would wear a certain collar for pet play. So when they do that, that's it. That is such an integral part of getting into that space for me, that kneeling, and then that, so
Yes.
allowing them to collar me.
The
And
kneeling is everything.
Hmm.
so earlier, Tayomi, I asked Sam, how did she get to the point of knowing that she was interested in pet play and identifying the pet that she wanted to be? Like, what was that process like for you?
So, I've always been role playing as animals since I was a kid with my sister. And so when I got into kink in 2016, I didn't even know that that was a thing. Like, it was a part of kink. Um, so in my kink and fetish training, the second assignment that I had to do with just saying Jasmine the King of War was to be collared, because I my first assignment, I made Jasmine wear a collar in the scene that I shot. And so then she got her leg back and collared me. But it was also one thing that I was interested in kink. So once I got collared, it was like, ooh, okay, this is the thing. But I've always had an affinity for cats, for big cats. And my grandmother had this white cat. It was mean as fuck. But it was a prissy little cat. She didn't want nobody touching her but my grandma. And I liked that cat, but she used to scratch me. So I never got to touch her or whatever. So when I thought about a kitten persona, a part of it was like, I got to live it out with my ex-husband. Like, we used to go on public walks and stuff like that. Um, and so over time and just being able to engage with other people,
Hmm.
I got to like really dive a little deeper into my kitten persona. And then when that relationship ended, I just collared myself and I owned myself. And I was able to then really deepen what I needed as far as a new owner, my persona. And then that's when I learned like I had two personas. Um, when I actually got with my owner, because I had a partner who ended up moving to Armenia, and he gave me the name Precious, and I
Oh.
kept it. So it's kind of like an homage to him, but also I just loved the name. And then when I met my owner, talking about Samantha, talking about a responsible person, he set up a date for us. It was a sushi date because cats like fish, right? And I love sushi. So he set up a sushi date at this wonderful place, the Fulton Market in Chicago, and he came with a little notepad and he had questions for me and he took notes and he asked me if I had questions for him. And one of the most important questions that he asked me that was so wonderful, which is why I knew he was going to be a great owner, was, what can he do to help me deepen my kitten persona?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my gosh, the care, and he was like, I think you have two personas. And I was like, you know what? I do. And so I own one, and she gets to play with other people. But I am extremely precious, pun intended. I am extremely precious with who Precious Kitty gets to play with. And I only want her playing with her master. Other than that, people just get to see her, look at her, admire her, because it's also a part of my kitten persona. You know how cats are? Cats like to prance around and be seen, little floop tail in the air. But if you're trying to touch, it's like, you with me. So it just took time for me to really develop it. And it was throughout the years. So it wasn't a
Mm-hmm.
quick thing. Especially as I became more comfortable with kink and BDSM and publicly displaying it, because exhibitionism is one of my kinks as well. So going outside in ears and a tail and a collar and meowing and eating out of a bowl or eating just like with my mouth and not my hands, doing all that stuff in public for me is like very arousing, very stimulating, and people be like, "What the fuck is going on?" I went to a comedy show and sat front row, collared, and my partner was holding my lead, and I had my ears on, and the comedians were like, "What is going on?" they didn't know what they were looking at. So it took some time, but being here now, it's just like any other dynamic or any other relationship. You're going to change, you're going to shift. And so the things that Precious Kitty likes and the things that Precious Kitty wants are going to shift over time. Like, and my master takes notes of these things. Like, he buys me everything that I have. So he noticed that I started asking for things that were like furrier. So he was like, are you moving into more like furry space with your persona? I was like, not really. I want these mittens, right? And so then he tries to find me things that are a balance between like furry and like realistic. Like he just
Mm-hmm.
recently bought me these gloves that have talons on the ends and they're like
Ooh.
furry and white, super cute, but I don't like wearing them and getting them dirty, right? So it's a beautiful thing to have this like DS relationship with somebody who's so attentive, who's so aware, and who's also like shifting with me and
Mm-hmm.
taking notes so that if I'm not aware of it, because I got a lot going on, if I'm not aware of it, he's aware of it and he'll bring it to me. And then whenever we have like our play sessions, he'll have like a little schedule of stuff that we can do to like play up some of the things that I've like moved into. And we'll
Mm-hmm.
experiment with new things just to see if it's something that I'm interested
Okay. Listen, all this is so interesting to me.
in.
Okay, because okay, I have like 50 million questions going through my head, so I'm trying to hone in. Um, okay, so somebody who is interested, even if it's just like I would love to see what it's like. Not sure if it's something that they want to do, 100% or be 100% committed to. What avenues or what steps? That's the word I'm looking for. What steps would you advise them to take in, I guess, testing out the waters of pet play is the best way I can put that. Either one of y'all.
Yeah, there are a lot of different munches that people have hosted, and I recommend sending Black folks into Black kink spaces. They are protective spaces, most of them, and so I do know that there are very problematic spaces on both sides, Black and non-Black spaces, but there are vetted people in communities of color specifically, where you can actually learn and grow. And you may start off thinking one thing, and then your energy shifts, and you're like, you know what? I actually identify as a bunny, like I actually identify as this or both or whatever. But I do know that I want to shamelessly plug Felines of Color. Rain, the perverted pearl. She is amazing. She's in the leather community, or they are in the leather community, and they have an amazing group for felines of color, and it is
Okay.
just outstanding. They hold space, they teach, they meet up, and it is amazing. So it's online and offline. But I think that I got involved in the knowledge of pet play through my very first dom, allowing me the space to kind of understand what kink was as a whole, and then from there it just wasn't I needed a little bit more as I shifted my consciousness and became a little, more spiritual, more aware of my body and the shame that I carried in this body. I realized that I needed to do something different. And that difference was getting out of the human body and getting into animalistic, my animalistic energy, and owning that, to release the shame, to release pain, to release trauma. And so that's why, I kind of started off, I owned myself. I love that Tayomi affirmed that, because so many people think that they are defined by being owned. So that is such a beautiful thing. It's such a beautiful thing to have this control over yourself. And then when I feel like I want to give somebody the reins to, to own me, here you are. Here you have it, because you earned it.
I
Exactly.
love that. I love that because I've said it so many times on this show. Anytime we get into really deep topics when it comes to specifically BDSM, I make sure, because submissiveness has such a negative connotation in regular society nowadays, that I want to make sure that anybody who comes across any of this content, I need them to understand what society has told you about submissiveness is not how submissiveness is viewed in the BDSM space. And the submissive has so much power. And being in that position, thank you, all the
Missing
power.
is all the power, because the dom, or if you're not in a DS dynamic, like psychologically, then like the top, is responsible for the person that they are topping. So if you are the person receiving, if you're the bottom or you're the sub, you have to communicate what you need. Otherwise, the dom's not going to know how to treat you. And
Mhm.
and I would say, for people who may be interested in pet play, or maybe like they hear about it and they're intrigued, the first thing to do, in my opinion, would be to get into a spirit of whimsy and play. So go back to that childlike spirit, because you are role playing. This is make believe. This is pretend. But this is the thing about our imaginations, people. The body does not know that it's not real. So when you use your imagination, your body is responding as if you are whatever pet you are. So this is a moment in time where you literally get to be in like suspended animation in a way. Like you get to play make believe, you get to pretend, and you get to come out of like your everyday regular life and into a moment of bliss where you just get to be playful. I think a lot of adults have lost that childlike innocence in using their imagination. I never did, because I made a commitment to my little self that I would always play make believe and that I would always be playful. That's why, like, and I also identify as a little. So I collect unicorns, I wear onesies, I color, I do all that. I even have a little voice. But she
Oh,
does not come out around most people. There's only two people that she comes out around. And sometimes she might, if she feels safe, she might pop out. But for the most part, my little only interacts with my twin sister. But being able to get into that space of whimsy and imagination is the first part. And then, secondly, it's like give yourself permission to just pretend and be. And ask yourself, if I could be an animal, what animal would I be? Because I'll tell you, I love being a kitten, but something I've really been kind of like interested in and looking more into is pony play, for a few reasons. One, I used to play as a pony when I was a kid with my sister. She used to ride my back. I was always the animal. She was the farmer and shit. I'm like, I'm always in the sub role. Um, but I love horses. But I also love the horse bit gag, the soft one.
Yes.
Oh my god. And I also like play with like my neck and stuff. So um having someone kind of like ride me like a pony, there's some interest there. So I'm gonna start exploring that. So, but those are the only animals I could really think of myself really role playing as. And I mean, we all have been a Playboy bunny at some point. You know what I mean? But that's a Playboy bunny, not a real bunny where I'm being fed carrots and shit like that. Because it's the thing when you get into character, full character. Like I drink milk out of my bowl.
Mm-hmm.
When I was drinking alcohol, my master would feed me red wine, like fancy red wine, out of my bowl. I would eat food out of my bowl. I crawl. I roll on my back and like play with stuff. I'm not a bad kitty, so I don't like scratch and hiss and do all of that bad kitty stuff. I'm a good kitty. So just getting into that mindset and allowing yourself to do that, and then sitting down with yourself once you figure out what kind of animal you have an affinity for, writing out the qualities and the characteristics of that animal. What do they look like? What do they eat? Where do they live? Where do they sleep? How do they look? And then if you want to like work on embodying that animal, then start with like what they sound like. What sounds do they make? Or what type of gestures do they make with their bodies? Like a bunny is like all the time with their nose, right? Or like shaking their bushy tail. I used to study a cat that I lived with. My ex-husband had a cat. God rest his soul, because I got word that it passed away, and so I feel kind of sad. But I love this cat. He was a Maine Coon, and he was so intuitive. And so I used to study his meow. And I would meow back and forth with him to the point where I got my meow perfect. And so when I meow now and I'm outside and around other cats, like cats be looking like, who's that? Even my dog, my dog was like, who's that? So just embodying the character by writing down the characteristics. And then the beautiful thing about wearing ears is that all the little girls now, like at Claire's and Icing and like those stores, they sell the headbands with the little ears on it. So it's not something that isn't commonplace now. So if you're not like trying to go deep yet into getting like realistic looking ears and tails and all of that, you can just go to the little Claire's, get you a headband with the little metal ears and put those on and start there. Because the thing is, the ears are a signifier to any other kitten out there or anyone in kink and BDSM. When you wear the ears, they know. And if you wear a collar, not only is it a signifier to kinky people, but to other people who just like, they're like, something's going on there, And so that is enough. Even if you don't meow, even if you don't like wear talons or whatever, if you choose to be a cat, just going outside in something that would identify you as whatever animal you decide to be, that's a start in owning yourself and owning your persona. So it's steps. Take it through steps, and then do the research too. Kinkly.com, Kinkly, Kinkly, Kinkly.com. They have a blog on their site. They just turned their site into a store, but you have to like click on the hamburger in the right corner of the upper right corner of the page, the drop down menu, and it'll take you to their blog, and you can search any term in their blog that is associated with kink and BDSM. And so you can put animal play or pet play in there, and it's a bunch of articles. And you can read all about it.
Yes.
And so I think for people who are new to the lifestyle, going to a munch can be a bit much, because it's people who are already identified, people who are already like in the lifestyle. And so if you're just beginning and you have never even heard of a munch or anything like that, start with yourself first. Start with the research, start with the embodiment. And then when you feel comfortable, then go into space with other people of like minds. Because I will say this, when I first started like exploring kink and BDSM, it was intimidating because of all the terms and all the things, and I didn't yet know. And so it felt like I wasn't one of them. And it felt like I
Mm.
was an outsider or a poser because I didn't have a strong command over the use of the language and the terminology within kink and BDSM. So I had to do some more studying to feel confident enough in myself to be able to show up in community and space.
Mhm.
So I want everybody to know that both of these resources that they both mentioned, Felines with Color Collective and Kinkly.com, will be in the description box below. And I 100% understand that because here is where I started with
Mhm.
BDSM. This is a binder of all Lord Child, so much information. So even today, when I pulled it, or not today, but when I was getting ready for the show and I pulled it out, and I was looking for different things to just kind of have a understanding of what I wanted to ask and things like that. I forgot how much information was in that thing, and I was like, holy crap, I need to use this a little bit more often. But um,
And it will evolve though. Like you said, it evolves. So like, kink the and I love the fact that over time, because I'm over 40, like significantly over 40. So
girl,
over time, kink has changed, and I think, with the inclusivity of Black kinksters, queer kinksters coming to the forefront, non-binary kinksters, and things are forever evolving. But I always like to say, give yourself grace that you may start out in a space or a headspace of learning, and over time, who you talk to, your friends, your people that you develop family in kink, like your family, your friends. I know Irene and I talking over the years, her consciousness has shifted. you know
Yes.
that will happen, like it will happen. And so, we are talking specifically about pets, but there are probably potential owners out there.
Hmm.
And so you may start off as a pet, like in that
Yep.
like that's beautiful. I know that my very first dom was in service to someone before they were this amazing, well versed, well experienced dom. Made them such a better, more loving and attentive dom to me. Like they were not problematic. I can't relate to problematic beginnings because they
mhm.
were of service to someone before I was of service to them. So your consciousness will shift over time. So give yourself grace. Yes, do your research. And I can understand going into certain kink spaces where you kind of feel like an outsider. And I used to ask, like, are there going to be newbies there? Like way back in the day, are there going to be newbies? And I wasn't in primarily, queer or people of BIPOC kink spaces back then, because I'm significantly older than
Girl,
both. So like I'm nearing the senior age. So I wasn't, I wasn't in
And
that.
looking good.
Thank you. But I just said, I was like, I just talked to a young person the other day, and I was like, man, back in the day, like it was low key racism back then in the day. Like when we were
I
in
mean,
the
but
fetishing of our Black bodies was a real thing when we
100%.
those kink spaces. It was really problematic and almost degrading. And though some of us love degradation, it wasn't in the way that we love it.
Right.
That's not.
And
It
I
was.
mean, and I could definitely. So when I first started this journey, um, let's see, it had to been like 2017, 2018 when I first like had my first in like real like in person close up introduction to BDSM. I actually went to some classes at a dungeon. I was still living in Orlando, Florida at the time, which is another thing. If you are interested in maybe a munch is a little bit too much where you don't want to talk to the people, because maybe I wasn't talking to nobody up in the you know what I mean, but the people that I do, mind you, 100% myself and my partner at the time went together to this class, and they went over a lot of different things, and it was really cool to be able to just sit up in there and see and just experience so much and like take in so much information. And then afterwards, they gave us the option to be able to like go into the actual dungeon and look and see people play and participate in a couple of things or whatever the case may be. Um, Side note: if you don't trust your person, this is don't try and take your person into this situation with you. That is just my experience because my first step into it was not a pleasurable one because I could not fully immerse myself in it because I ain't trust that food. Straight up, no lie.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
you know, but to be where I am with it now, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that I was blessed enough to find Sam online, and we started talking, and I started asking her questions, and then I met Tayomi, which was absolutely amazing. Because I straight slid at her DMs and was like, "Hey,
I was like,
right?" And she responded, and I was like, "What do I do?" Okay,
hey.
it was very much because it was a fangirl moment. Very much when she responded, I said, "Ooh, she responded." Okay,
You would be so surprised. I'm like,
And
I
she's so
run my own
approachable.
pages.
Like you're so approachable. I think that's what makes you just a goddess, in my opinion, because so many people are so unapproachable in kink when they reach a certain level of notoriety. You have
mm-mm,
never been that way. You have
mm-mm.
never been that way. And when I
Listen.
met you, I was starstruck. I could see Beyonce and not be starstruck. I will be you. I'm not
Not the way I was when I thought that when she was.
but
Listen,
Tayomi, when I saw Tayomi, that exotica that I presented in Miami, I nearly fell at her feet because her energy requires that presence. Like her energy demands it. Like she is so approachable. Whoever raised you did a fucking damn good job. You can tell they did a good job, and you give that. I'm telling you, you represent them so well. You are
You
loving.
gonna make me cry because
It's
my dad, after so both my parents raised me, but my dad raised me and my sister in our formative years. Because my mom is a career woman and she was like pursuing her career and she was there for like the discipline and for teaching us like economics and stuff, like how to deal with money very early on and teaching us like how to read and stuff. But my dad was the nurturer and my
mm-hmm,
dad was always like always affirming us, telling us we're the cream of the crop, we're the best of the best. But he's like, just because you're up here though, doesn't mean you look down on people. You gotta learn how to deal with people up here and down here and everything in between. So he would always tell us to be kind, but don't take no shit. And he would always just like empower us in that way. So, and my mom taught us how to be ladies, how to be classy,
mm-hmm,
how to be demure.
mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm.
Not demure because demure ain't even really it's but she just taught us how to speak,
Mm-hmm.
how to be approachable because that's really important. And so
mm-hmm,
I've been that way since I was a kid. I've always like championed the little person or the outcast because I was the outcast. I got bullied growing up, so I understood what it was like to be that. Um, and like also it's the God in me. Like God would not have me look down on people and be nasty to people. You know, one day I'm gonna have millions of followers on all of my social medias and I'm gonna be on TV big time, and I'm still not gonna change because God would not be pleased with me and my dad would most certainly not be pleased with me. If I start acting a fool, my people will bring me right back down to earth and be like, really though? No, we're not doing
Well, they
that.
did
and
a job. They really did
Thank you.
because
right.
and I oftentimes, my mother and father were my example, and I think that my natural submissiveness came from me watching my mother and my father and their engagements with each other and how beautiful and healthy and balanced it was.
Yes,
And so, we started out with etiquette classes and
yes,
my parents were big on that. And so, the base for me when I teach BDSM to others is, manners. Like that is it. Like what makes it
mhm,
amazing submissive? Manners. What's
yes,
makes it amazing dominant? Manners. Like
manners.
it's what it boils down to. And so I really I wanted to tell you that in Miami, but everything was just happening so fast.
Too
But
much
I
for
really appreciate you being so approachable and so loving, and your energy is so intoxicating because
it
of
is.
you're so light and easily approachable. And I just
Mhm.
hope that everything you touch turns to gold. I hope Oshun blesses
Oh,
everything in your life. I hope she just gives you the sweetness of life because you deserve.
I say, oh my gosh, when you cry over here, hold on.
And I will tell y'all, I will give credit where credit is due. We had some offline discussions when I first got a chance to connect with Tayomi, and I tell y'all right now, this show would not be as far as it is right now if it had not been for some things that she had poured into me at that time. She
I was
gave me
like,
an opportunity to present at Exotica. Girl, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but she was like, "You got this. You can do it." I was like, oh yeah. I mean, if you, oh, all right, we're
I
gonna
held her
do
hand the whole way, and she was like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Girl,
it.
you good? It's
Cause
fine."
I was like, listen, for those who don't know, Irene suffers from imposter syndrome sometimes, okay? And, and when she said you got this, I was like, girl, who is you talking to? It gotta be somebody else in this room. Because you're not talking to me. Um, I was like, I'm not, she was like, yes, you are. I was like, mm-mm. She was like, yes, you are. I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing it. But
And did.
every, and I did. It was an amazing experience. 110% amazing experience. And with the discussions that we had, all it made me want to do is improve upon it and figure out how to make it better.
Mhm.
Even when I saw you at Six Down South, I told you I was like, listen, I still been working. I
Yep.
took a break. I took a good chunk of break from the show, and I had to figure out how to restructure it to make it work for what I had going on. I have 3 shows right now, Naomi. I don't think you know. I didn't tell you that. Yeah. So I have this show. I have Black Girls React on Wednesdays, and then I have Irene and Kate Unscripted, which you see in the comments. I have that on Thursdays. So
I love it.
she me her is busy, and we got about 2 or 3 other projects going on in the background.
Come on, victim, book them busy. Let's
We
go. Yeah.
trying. We trying. But I will say 100%. One thing. A lot of what you said to me that first time we got a chance to talk, like actually sit down and talk when you came on the show the first time, a lot of that still resonates with me, and a lot of it still roams in my head because anytime I meet with Fairy, who else was I talking to, and they brought you up, and I was like, girl, I know she just pour into you, and then you feel like you can't not do stuff, like you have to do it. You know,
I just
it's
let the Lord
very
use me. You know, I'm just a messenger. Just a messenger.
right, 'cause it gives very much like I don't want to have to see Tyrone and be like, nah, I ain't did nothing that that you poured into. I did nothing with that. Like, so I was so excited when I saw you at Six Down South because I knew I was able to say I've still been working. Been a little quiet, but I still been working. Because sometimes you do have to be quiet. Speaking of still
That's
been working,
true.
I saw because we're gonna go ahead and wrap the show up. But I saw a little something today, and I was like, "Ooh, she been working, working. What you been
Oh,
working on, Sam? You gonna
Period.
tell the people what you been working on, girl?"
well,
Period.
I had also been quietly working in the background for good reason. And, again, I'm divinely guided and led because this was not in like my 10-year plan at all. And last year, um, when I had a post go viral about what my polycule looks like, because I am
Hmm.
a polyamorous individual. I don't just I'm not just in a romantic orientation that happens to be polyamorous. I say I'm a polyamorous person because it's literally in me. And so I swear, I was like, I'm not trying to be a poly coach or nothing like that. And then I had a vision. And the vision was of me meeting with this beautiful couple who was looking for a third partner. And I saw all the trappings and the things that came along with this lifestyle. And I was like, I want to live this life. What's this? I was like, matchmaking. And I was like, oh shit. Okay. And so I went to my mentor Tammy Gilmore. Shouts out to her and the Love Pro, the duo, the Love Duo. Um, and we sat and we had a conversation because it's really important to have mentors, period. And so I sat with her and I asked her, well, I told her my idea. And she was like, Tayomi, this is a great idea because nothing like it exists in the matchmaking industry. So if you go on like traditional dating sites, they really don't serve the CNM community, the consensual non-monogamous community, or the polyamorous community. So you have to go to like special apps or whatever. But then those apps are mostly like focused on sexual exchanges versus like trying to build actual emotional bonds and romantic partnerships with people. And so she said, listen, you have the look and you live this lifestyle and you will be a trailblazer because there's no other agency like it. And I did my research and there really isn't, especially one led by a person of color. Because I'm serving everybody as a matchmaker in the polyamorous space. And being a Black person, you already know how it is. Like Black attracts Black. It just is what it is. So my new venture is as the owner of the first polyamorous matchmaking agency. It is a nationwide agency. Eventually, it'll be an international agency. So I have my soft thank you. I had my soft launch last weekend, a soft launch event, and I just had a feature in MadameNouveau.com. Shout out to Ashley Cobb for putting me on. And so this is just the beginning of like my press tour. I'm going to be on more podcasts talking about it and more publications talking about it. But the thing that I really am happy about is that I get to connect people in free, open love and help people to avoid the bullshit because there's a lot of polyfuckery happening out here in the world. But it's also a lot of people who are just now waking up to the realization that polyamory is an option for them and that it's something that they can do. And so they need some guidance. And also, like a lot of the dating apps have a bunch of bots and like fake people on there. So matchmaking, what it does for people is it puts them in front of real individuals that I've vetted, that I've actually spoken to, and I'm pairing them based on compatibility as high as possible. The chemistry is up to them. But I'm not just matching them, I'm also coaching them in how to date within polyamory and then supporting them through relationship coaching because this lifestyle is not an easy one to live, especially since all of us have been programmed for monogamy and a relationship escalator or ladder. And there are so many different dynamics that one could engage with when it comes to polyamory. So I'm always like an educator first. So it's like education, but also helping people to feel really excited about the getting to know you phase and going on dates with people once we get to that matchmaking process. So I have a method that I use to match people. And prior to coming into like polyamorous matchmaking, I was matching people on Snapchat just by posting people up on my Snapchat. So from 2016 to 2018, I would do Matchmaker Mondays. And several people have had babies, have gotten married, or they found like their soulmates, either like friendships or like actual romantic partners through that. So I got some godchildren out here that are born because I just connected people through posting them up on my page. And that was a time, it was an era. It's an era that's like moved on. But now I get to do it professionally and be paid to do it. And I get to do it within a community of people who are often overlooked and shut out and misunderstood. But there's a lot of us, and there's a lot more of us who are waking up. And I'm really excited to see people being in like these long-term relationships with the loves of their lives. So shout out to the Poly Matchmaking Agency. Follow us on Instagram at Polymatch Agency and check out polymatchmakingagency.com.
Period. We'll make sure all of that is also linked in the description down below. And I love that. I had an episode at the very beginning of the show on the poly lifestyle with a few different people on there. I definitely said I wanted to revisit it. And the reason, and here's something. So for those who don't know, I'm very much a monogamous person because I'm stingy as fuck. Okay, I know me. I don't like sharing. I don't like sharing. I sure don't. Baby, it's gonna be a
You gotta know
misunderstanding.
yourself. You have to know yourself.
But I respect and love those who practice polyamory or consensual non-monogamy ethically, because I understand the level of transparency, communication, and trust that has to go into that.
Mhm.
And that's what I love the most about it. When it comes to the like that particular lifestyle, I plan to apply those things to my relationship. But I also understand that there are a lot of people out there who are looking for that information. So I'm definitely gonna have to do another show on that, and hopefully we can get you back on time to talk about
Ain't
it.
no hopefully. Just let me know when and I'll be there.
Okay. Definitely, definitely. But I'll make sure all of that is linked in the comments down below. Samantha, you always got something going on, girl. What you got
So, the Black Queer Dom Society is a
Ooh.
society of queer, BIPOC folks that identify in the kink community. Black Queer Dom, the owner of that, the conceptualizer of that, has created an amazing space where they meet up. They are constantly doing trainings for both DOMs and subs of color, queer and trans and non-binary, and they are just fantastic. They are having a second annual submissive summit in April, and I will be the opening keynote speaker for that. This will be my second year being invited to participate. The first year I was the closing keynote, and I'm just honored to do that. So you can find Black Queer Dom Society on Instagram. There is a vetting form for all S types, trans S types, non-binary S types, any BIPOC S types. This submissive summit is virtual and for you. They also are planning just so many amazing things for the year. I am honored to be affiliated with them. I am also writing a book. I am writing it through grief. So it is taking me a minute. I am calling on all of the Orisha that walk with me to help me finish it because I have, just let life happen. But I am writing a book about being submissive and black and what that looks like, and being spiritual submissive and black, like being a part of the African traditional spiritual practice, and being a black witch, and what that looks like, and how all of that, inclusive of my healing, has led to this consciousness and made me a much better submissive. So I am writing. I'm asking my mother from Orun, from heaven, to like help me finish it. But I took a pause because my grief was great. So hopefully I'm giving myself 6 months to get this completed. So hopefully doing that.
on? You got
Yep,
this.
and
You got
have
this.
grace with yourself, even if it's not 6 months. It's in you, and
Child,
it'll come
listen.
out when it needs to.
Thank you so much. I love
A
you.
hundred.
I
I
love you.
love you too.
So amazing. I always pray for you. I'm always going to pray for you. I know that what you are doing, you're supposed to be doing. This
Hmm.
was destined for you. So whatever connection you had before with whatever organization, that we all are grateful that we were a part of, this is you were destined for greater. So this is
Yes,
what,
Period.
absolutely,
and it's
absolutely.
all because of who you are and what you have put out there in the universe. Now it's all coming back to you. It's just
It
all golden
is.
here.
110%. And like I said earlier, wherever you go, I will go.
Me too.
I love
Period.
y'all so much. Oh my gosh.
Baby.
Me too.
But I definitely know you're gonna be able to finish that, Sam, 100%. Because I know you, and I know you. I believe in you, and I love you. Um,
Ooh.
as for me, y'all can find me here every other Tuesday. Next Tuesday, we will be talking to Eli Daniels, aka the Naked Trumpeter.
Eli. Yes, Eli. We love Eli.
So excited for that conversation because boy, that is. Let me tell y'all something. I met him at Sex Down South. I had like an
Tore it
hour long
down.
conversation.
Tore it down.
Period. Hey, shut up. If y'all don't go to sex house stuff, I don't know what you're doing with your life. When I tell you so
Shut the
much fun.
whole show down.
I,
Marla and
Marla
Marla,
and Tia. Oh.
I'm
Tia and
I'm
Marla.
hoping to get them on the show soon because I would love to hear all the backstory about Sex Down South and everything like that. So hopefully I can get them on the show soon too.
Oh, that's
But yeah,
easy. I can just text Tia.
Tia is so approachable, just like Tayomi. Like when I presented at Sex Down South Miami, I just felt. I mean, I knew Marla in Community, but they are just. You're surrounded by the greats. Like you could call on Tayomi and Marla and Tia. You're surrounded by the greats. Those are the greats.
Yes.
I am loving this. I am so appreciative of these connections that I've been able to build on this journey because this hasn't. I don't think a lot of people realize that while I have been doing this show and finding all these amazing people to come and show that we are a part of BDSM. BDSM is not a white folk thing. It looks very different for us. We operate differently out here,
Right.
but we are here. This has also been a learning journey for me as well. I have grown so much as an individual, as a person. Um, I've learned a lot about myself along this process. Child, I done found a little bit of some submissive. See, I can't even get the word out. That's how bad my body is. Like, girl, no, you didn't.
It's okay
Let
to be
me.
a switch. It's okay.
I'm very much a switch. I
I'm a
definitely am a
switch.
switch and 100% a brat because that was the one thing that Sam and I used to
Own
laugh
it.
about all the time because she'd be like, I can't do that. I'm like, girl, I love it. I'm flipping over the table. I don't care. I'm knocking shit over. I came in here to cause chaos. Damn it. Okay.
And that
I,
you gotta own that. Like, you when you know who you are and you own that, there is somebody who is willing to accept that and play in that with you and live that out with you. And that's what I love about this community. Like nothing is
mhm.
weird, to
Right.
the outside. I'm like, what the fuck going on? But those of us that are in it, we embrace
Hmm.
it. We love people for who they are, how they are. We don't yuck anybody's yum. We celebrate people's differences and we let people live. As long as we're doing it safely and consensual and we're not harming anybody, it's all on the table for us to play with, and
Exactly.
that's just what makes our lives so much more full because we're not stuck to just this regimented way of being. Like,
Hmm.
oh, being a kinkster opened up so much more for me in my life, and it made life even more fun because the
Right.
thing, like being a kitten, is not a sexual thing for me, but it arouses me in a different way. Like being able to come out of being a boss and having my master take care of everything. And me and him, like we're literally playing chess on the phone throughout the week. He's like sending me lunch and stuff. Like he takes care of me. And it feels good to my submissiveness
Mhm.
to be able to relax into that and know that I don't have to always carry every damn thing.
Yes. Yes.
And as black women,
100%.
I think that we get to really lean into subspace in kink and BDSM because the
Hmm.
world depends on us for every damn thing.
Yes.
And
100%.
when we can relax in true subspace with people who we feel safe with and we trust to care for us and they look like us, it's
Right.
healing to our souls, I think, on an ancestral level.
It is
Hmm.
I talk about that all the time. That's true. And actually, the topic of this year's Submissive Summit is decolonizing your kink, and
Come on, come on.
designing your submission. And that is it. Really, because our ancestors were not afforded the agency over their body to say
At
no
all.
to anything, and submission, leaning into that, leaning into being the one receiving pain, owning that you need it and want it, is healing to your bloodline. Like
Yes,
your yes, the autonomy of your yes, like the consensualness of the consensual of you being able to say yes or no. That is healing to your bloodline. And like Tayomi said, Black women are carrying the weight of the entire world on our backs. And submission affords you the opportunity to rest.
yes.
Hmm.
And our
And rest is
out of
resistance. It's our form of
It
resistance.
is. It is. 100%. It 100% is. All right, ladies. So I definitely want to make sure I go ahead on and wrap this up because Lord knows we could keep going and going and going and going and going and going. Because I love talking to y'all and y'all bring so much to the table, so much to the table. I'm so blessed to have y'all as a part of my circle, and I appreciate it so much. Like I said, every other Tuesday, y'all will catch me here. Next Tuesday, the next Tuesday is going to be March 18th. March 18th, you will see me here. Like I said, Eli Daniels, aka the Naked Trumpeteer, will be on the show. On Wednesdays, you can also catch me here on YouTube under Black Girls React. Me, my homegirl Chase, Nay, Boogie with the hoodie, and Shay Butter Baby. Lord knows we be talking about a little bit of everything. You know what I'm saying? It's always an interesting topic. And then me and my good sis, Kay Simone, on Thursdays, Irene and Kate Unscripted. A lot of relationship focused stuff. We are not relationship gurus. We just tell y'all what we like and don't like. You can take it, leave it, or throw it out the window. We don't care. But we gonna tell y'all what we think. Um, Outside of that, make sure y'all get y'all copies of Vacation, The Purple Dungeon, as well as the Sexual Awakening Journal. Everything is linked down below. Make sure y'all go and download Worshiper too, please and thank you. This helps the rest of these projects come out because this you never know how much stuff costs until you actually the one producing the stuff. Jesus.
Hello.
Um, but thank y'all so much for joining us. If you made it this far, if you're watching the replay and you made it this far, put some purple hearts in the comments for me. Thank y'all. We'll talk to y'all next time. Bye.
Bye.